Hey guys, what's going on? Oathkeeper here, and today we are going to go over the big tier shift that just happened a few days ago. And today, this time for this episode, we have a guest, and I can guarantee you it will not be the last time he's on here. He goes by the name Aawin. Aawin, say hello.
What's going on, guys?
Alright, and with him, we got the usual group. We got Zerovis.
Hey guys, Zerovis here, aka Zero Warrior 21.
And then we got GW, Greninja Warrior.
So, Greninja Warrior here. Sub to YouTube right now.
And last but surely not least, Spatial Rendezvous.
Guys, Spatial Rendezvous here, aka Spatial Warrior 21.
Alright, so I think first off, I think a good talking point would be the two recent promotions in your room. So Aawin was just promoted to voice in the room, so that was well earned. So congratulations to you. I think that's well earned.
Thank you. Actually, I was not promoted. Contrary to popular belief, I actually just intercepted the podcast.
Double room negative equals room voice. You got lucky with the double room negative there. Sorry to tell you.
Two negatives makes it positive. That is very true.
I hate to toot my own horn, but I mean, I was promoted from voice to driver. This is definitely the first time, that this has happened to me. So, I mean, I definitely got taken by surprise, and that's usually how it works. So, but again, I don't want to toot my own horn, so we'll just move on from there.
Hey, big congrats to also.
Thanks. So I believe I want to touch on the stuff that NU lost, like whether it be by usage or through a ban, through a quick ban. I think touching on the quick bans. Let's just do that real quick. First of them, there was only two, but the first of them being the big bad bull that we all know about, Tauros. And it's perfectly understandable that it was, gotten rid of. It's way too strong, it's way too fast, and its coverage is absolutely ridiculous. But Aawin, did I pretty much hit the nail on the head, or maybe anything to add?
Yeah, Taurus's coverage is just way too strong, and it's just the fact that Throat Chop, which it does have as coverage this gen, is boosted by Sheer Force. That's just kind of... It pushed it over the edge because the tier just has too many ghost types. What are your thoughts on this, Zero?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree wholeheartedly. Like, it got the new tool in Throat Chop, which was very dangerous, and then Sheer Force Life or boosted moves, like even close combat gets a big boost from that. And so it's able to power through a lot. And then another main thing that made it like really dangerous for us is just a crazy speed tier of 110 with positive nature that takes it to 350 speed, which outspeeds like a lot of our whole tier. So it was quite dangerous there. What about you, GW?
Yeah, I think Tauros is just way too fast. 110 base speed is like way faster than the Savali. It's almost faster than like everything. It has absurd coverage as Fire Blast for steals, close combat now. You can even run even Body Slam does well over half to any just a neutral Savali. So yeah, I think it was definitely the band that needed to go the most.
And Spatial, how about you?
Not really much to add. I feel like I'd just be a broken record at this point. But yeah, Tauros, it was just too strong with Sheer Force and its absurd coverage. It was too fast to handle either. So it was, in essence, the ultimate wall breaker, and it just did its job a little too well for the tier to handle.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, like I said before, its coverage move pool is ridiculous. I mean, it's just when you think it doesn't have an answer for something, yeah, it does. Alright, so the other band being what we dub Ice Cream. We call it Vanillux in Pokemon terms. So Vanillux, it's already got a really nice special attacking stat. Its speed it's just kind of meh, but it's okay. And I mean, we all know ice has like the worst defensive typing ever, but I mean it makes up for it with, it's really heavy hitting power. I mean, it's got Aurora Veil, it's got Snow Warning, so it can set hail on its own. Aawin, anything to add?
Yeah, Specs Blizzard complemented by a 110 base special attack is just kind of brazy, and it also has that freeze dry to hit bulky waters, and the fact that it just kind of overshadowed Abomasnow as the resident veil setter is just, it provided too much value.
Yeah, I agree too. I think it also benefited from like a pretty good speed tier too. Like it was able to outspeed a fair bit. Like it's not crazy fast, but it definitely is a lot faster than Obama. And so for it being able to just spam those Specs Blizzards or freeze dries, like it was really hard for people to come up with a defensive answer to it. So I don't know. I think it's probably a healthy ban for us. Dubs.
Alright, so yeah, I think Vanillux it was just really a bit too good. Basically, faster than Abomasnow, gets freeze dry, Blizzard, Aurora Veil, Taunt, Ice Priority too. And it's just like a bit too difficult to deal with. I think slightly less broken than Tauros, but I mean it was still it made a lot of teams a bit more cheesy. Sure, so I think it's better if it goes.
And then Spatial.
Vanillux, aka the Ice Cream Cone of Doom, it just exerted too much offensive pressure for it to really be healthy for the tier. Basically, any water type that would come in to try and take a Blizzard would get punished hard by Freeze Dry, and the overall power was just too much for the tier's defensive Pokemon to handle. So I think it was a well-deserved ban.
Yeah, it's, kind of like with Tauros, I'm pretty sure this was, thrown in there somewhere. I mean, it just hits hard. Not even, and water types aren't safe, so, I think the only thing that could have probably, came in safely was a steel type, but, there's hardly any steel types to choose from here in NU, because they're either rising to RU or... I don't know. It's difficult. It would just be difficult to switch in because even a Specs Blizzard would hurt. So those, fortunately were the only two bans, and and that's okay because sometimes team building can just be a pain when you're, having to keep mons like those in your mind every single moment during your team building process. But so as far as just like standard, losses due to usage. I think the big one is Scyther, and I think you guys can agree with me on this. Scyther was... it's nice this gen thing, simply for the fact that, given its typing, Rocks really hurts it, but due to the totally not broken heavy-duty boots, this gen, it no longer needs to worry about that. You can run boots, you can run, Eviolite, you can run Band, you can run Scarf, but with the boots there, you kind of need to take advantage of it. And Aawin, go ahead and add some more stuff in there.
Yeah, so Scyther also beat out the benchmark for the Silvally speed tier, which is 95. So there's that. And the fact that it actually, as an NFE, if it was running boots, you don't get that Violite boost, but then you don't dodge Stealth Rock. And I absolutely despised playing this mon, so I am absolutely 100% on board for this going up to Yu. I'm just sick of dealing with it, sick of throwing Stunfisk on every team. I'm just done. Zero, what do you think?
Yeah, I can understand that sentiment for sure. Having it around for those couple weeks that it was around, it totally changed the tier for those weeks, and it coincided with NU Open Round 1 too, which was crazy because pretty much most of the team that were run during that happened to have Scyther on it too. Its usage shot up like crazy. I think it was 41% of teams at the end of the month had Scyther on it, but it totally makes sense for all the reasons we've said. Plus it got that crazy new tool in Dual Wing Beat which is like an amazing move for it to abuse with Technician. It's basically like a Brave Bird with no recoil for it. Plus it hits twice, so like, it can do crazy things like just demolish lead Cursula that didn't hit Endure by just like killing it right away and like breaking Sash. But as far as the ban goes, like I definitely think that it was way too centralizing to keep around, and the usage definitely is proof of that. What about you, GW?
Yeah, I think Scyther Magneton is probably like the most annoying NU meta we've had the entire generation. Like every single team is literally just either Scyther Magneton or it's like Scyther and a different Volt Switcher or just like a bunch of U-turn Mons. It's the same speed as Rapidash, which is just absurd. It has 2-hit Brave Bird with 2 chances to crit. It's just an incredible Mon. And you have stuff like Stunfisk Galar, I guess, but then once it gets knocked off, it just gets worn down and loses to Scyther over time. Like there's no real way to be safe versus it ever. I don't think. But it's gone.
Yep, Spatial, go ahead.
Scyther, I wouldn't say, just by looking at it, you probably wouldn't peg it as being as broken as something like Tauros or Vanillix, but the thing with Scyther was just that after it clicked the Swords Dance, there was incredibly limited hit counterplay that could actually be applied realistically to stop it. Like, it even got to the point where some people were running physically defensive Larian Stunfisk just for the purpose of blocking that a U-turn or dual wing beat, and just it was a really insidious force in the metagame that had a really unhealthy impact, and so I'm glad it rose before the council had to take action and ban it.
Yeah, it's and the fact that Scyther got dual wing beats was really nice. I mean, it kind of cuts short of like Brave Bird. I think with Technician, it's what is it, like 80? I want to say it's like 80 power per hit. So, and then I mean, it's just dominant. I mean, that's why you'd be using it over Wing Attack or Aerial Ace now, because it just hits harder. But yeah, it is sad to see it, in a way, sad to see it go, but it's UU's problem now. So moving on. Yeah, another big loss is Magneton, also another NFE. So yeah, I mean, you can run something like Eviolite on Magneton, you can run Specs, or you can possibly run Scarf. But either way, it was dangerous. Aawin, what do you think?
Personally, I didn't really encounter too much Magneton when I was laddering. However, I felt that it was slightly, on the broken end. However, I packed, Stunfisk, which was like the greatest counter. And so I just packed that on every team, but, every team's not going to pack that. I just felt Specs Analytic. Really, you can't switch in to your switch in unless its name is like Lantern with Volt Absorb, because you're just taking way too much from those flash cannons. And I even ran into a couple variants that were Specs Analytic Steel Beam, and I just got absolutely sent packing. And my GA speed suffered quite a bit. So I feel like Zero has some more positive things to say about it, but I also hated Magneton.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I did use it in a few different capacities. Like, first of all, I used an interesting set with Magnet Pull to trap and kill Togs, because if you predicted right and you switched it into either an Iron Head or Ding Zap, that was game over for Tog, because I put Rest on the set, and then you can just keep resting up until it's out of PP and kill it with either Flash Cannon. Or actually, yeah, you have to use Flash Cannon because Toad has Lightning Rod a lot of the time, but that's one interesting tactic that I liked using it for, because obviously Toad was a very popular Scarf user for us. And then, like you said, yeah, Specs Analytic, man, the raw power of that thing is just crazy. Like, even just off the bat with specs, it's able to hit like 550 special attack or something, and then with the analytic boost, like that just pushes it over that edge where, like you said, there's like literally one or two good checks, and even then they still get chipped by flash cannon by having to switch in. So I think probably it is best for us to have it gone, but it was fun for me to use it while it was here. GW?
And yeah, I didn't really use Magneton that often. I mean, it seemed like a really good mon. It doesn't have hidden powers, so it probably struggles to trap something like Pharaoh Seed. You probably have to run like Rest Talk or something jank like that. Obviously, Specs Analytic is very strong. Even something like Togedemaru probably takes a lot of damage from a Specs Analytic Flash cannon if it tries to come in. And I think it's probably the least broken mon to leave, but it was definitely annoying for sure. There's a lot of good resistances and bulk options as well for Violite.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Aawin. I never really encountered Magneton often, and I never used it in a serious team. But I can definitely understand the sentiment that it doesn't seem too broken on paper, kind of like Scyther before, but it just has the tools, those in analytic, and a generally good stab combo to just didn't have enough defensive counterplay to be considered healthy, which I've noticed is a trend among all the mons we've banned so far, or have risen to higher tiers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as far as like any other notable losses, I mean, I'd say those were the two big ones. I mean, unless I'm wrong, there weren't any other, notable losses, but correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
I think the only losses, I guess, are like the Indeedee and Porygon moves to RU, but that really didn't affect us.
Yeah, not really. Okay, so with that in mind, we'll move on to the stuff that we did get. So the new big mon that I want to start off with is none other than Gallade. So I mean, this thing is it's a powerhouse to begin with its base 125 attack, and while its speed tier is it's decent at base 80. I mean, it could be better considering some of the faster, nicer threats in the meta right now. I mean, you already have Toxicroak, which is already one of our better mons, and it's at base 85. So, Gallade, it's definitely good. Don't get me wrong on that, but it kind of feels like you would need to utilize something like, webs, or have like a guaranteed, Thunder Waver on your team. Aawin, what do you think?
Yeah, so Gallade is just really strong right now, I feel. Like, as an initial drop, I feel like 125, that's like Sock level, I'm pretty sure. Except the distinguishing factor between Gallade and Sock is that Gallade can actually, body poison types with this stab, Psycho Cut, or Zen Headbutt. But I also agree. I think Scarf will, at 80 base, it could be a little bit better, but I think as a Scarfer, it'll be fine. And maybe on some, if you already have like a form of speed control, then I guess you could run like SB with dual stabs and then a coverage move of choice. You do get the broken knockoff, Ice Punch, Leaf Blade for Quagsire. If you're a real legend, you can run Triple Axle. But, I don't really... I think Gallade's going to be, pretty strong, but I'm not necessarily sure if it's problematic as of right now. So, Zero, you can probably correct me on that, because I definitely have not used this.
No, I think you're right. It kind of remains to be seen whether it's at that broken level, but at face value, it definitely seems like it could be problematic. In the past, Gallade has, I think last gen it was RU or something, but before that it was typically UU or UU ban lists a lot of the time, just because it has a really powerful stab combo, and if you let it get a Swords Dance up, it becomes an extremely scary wall breaker. So and also like it has access to so many good moves for coverage, like whatever tier it's in. Like for example, like if you wanted to in NU now, like in case you were scared of Quag or whatever, you could run Leaf Blade on it or something like that, right? So it does have a lot of tools that way, and like yeah, I think that like you said, probably the more popular set right now is gonna be Scarf. And I was saying earlier too, like if it had a pivot move, I think it would already have been banned, because that would make it pretty much just like Passimian, except it also has like another great stab to use. So, and Pass has been our use since SS Alpha, so I mean, I doubt Glade would have dropped if that was the case, but it doesn't actually get access to anything like that, so I guess that's a small limitation of using it as a Scarfer, but otherwise, like, seems really great, and I wanna keep building with it and testing out different builds. And I wish we had like better web setters other than Orbeetle, because I think you could really clean up on a web team like that could just drive the opponent speed down just enough that it could like get a source dance up and speed. But yeah, Spatial, what do you think?
Just to interrupt real quick, you do have a Charge-a-Bug right there.
Oh, true. How could I forget Charge-a-Bug after our lovely week of Boss 1, right?
Yeah.
There's also a Shuckle.
Oh yeah, Chuckle's back, but no one cares about Shuckle.
Right. Yeah, Shuckle. Who cares? Yeah. And then, any of the other two have anything to add or no?
I understand I might sound a little radical when I'm saying this, and I'm saying I hope you take this with a grain of salt, because it's only been this meta for 5 days, and we still yet to see exactly how Gallade will impact the metagame or how the metagame will adapt to it. But just looking at Gallade on paper, I think it might have the potential to be ban-worthy, depending on the way things go. Just because, well, like you said, speed tier isn't fantastic by any means. It's enough to get the job done and make it a serious threat to anything that doesn't speed it. And like, if you're packing a choice scarf, or if you can set up and you have a third or 309, well, maybe that's not absurd per se, but you understand the point. And it has arguably one of the best offensive typings it can, because like we just got Wheezing in this tier shift, but it doesn't stand a chance against Gallade since then Headbutt or your psychic move of choice just stops it. So what I'm trying to get at here is that it has all the tools necessary to be a broken Pokemon, but we'll need to see how everything shakes out to see how it will actually do. I'm personally thinking that it's at least going to be suspect tested, but the time will tell.
Yeah, yeah. Gallades can definitely be an issue, because I forget who said it, but yeah, you get an SD off, it instantly becomes a problem that you need to get rid of before it just completely wipes the floor with the opposing team. So, any other final thoughts before we move on to the next one? No? Okay. Next mon. This was, funny enough, the only DLC mon that came to NU via usage. So it goes by the name Miltank. It's a good rocker in my opinion. It's got a few hints of Snorlax in it thanks to its typing, its bulk, thick fat for its ability. I mean, heck, all three of its abilities are nice. You got Sap Sipper and Scrappy to go with it. But I mean, you could pretty much go any direction, in any three of those directions with Miltank. I mean, it can do multiple things. Aawin, what do you think?
It's three great abilities. I'm honestly having a difficult time trying to figure out which of those three would be the least ran. My guess would be with like team building comps. My guess would probably be like thick fat, I guess, or like I'm not really sure. But this thing is when I think of Miltank and I have to do like a word association, it's its splashability, because it has so many options. Like, it has Stealth Rock, and it differentiates itself from Snorlax and higher tiers, because with Scrappy, it can hit the ghost types with its stab and doesn't have to run, like a Darkest Lariat type coverage move. And then it also has, Broken Body Press, and also has Heal Bell for Cleric, and then Milk Drink for reliable recovery. I could even see it maybe running like a Curse set. It's not necessarily the strongest at 80 base attack, but I do think Miltank is going to be a very prevalent mon on really any build, because it has 100 base speed is nice, because you have to do very minimal speed investment to speed creep, and it also has a great HP and physical defense. So I mean, if there's anything to add, I'm pretty sure Zero will find it. So.
Yeah, Miltank, man. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head with Splashable. I think the two sets we'll probably see the most of now are going to be, like you said, or like O said, a Sap Super Stealth Rock, because we do have a couple threatening grass types in the tier, especially Grass Ghost, which is like a double great deal for Miltank, because it can sponge up either of their stabs that way. And so yeah, it's also a bulky rock setter, but then another set we'll see is probably Cursed Scrappy, because it has a great tool too in body press, and that can get pretty dangerous, like with Scrappy and having it curse up. Like, you can function a lot like Snorlax does in RU, except without having to have a dark coverage move like Darkest Lariat. And also with some other tools, like Milk Drink is so good in comparison to Rest. Like, you can drink up and heal yourself, and also it has access to Heal Bell in case you don't want to run like a Lum or something, and you want to stave off status. So I think it is going to be pretty dangerous and unpredictable, and we'll definitely see a lot of it. And it has, like, even on paper, it has like really good stats too. 95, 105, 70 is like pretty darn good bulk, and 100 base speed too. Like, it's fast and thick, so like, what more really, right? Spatial, what are your thoughts on the Miltank?
I think the cow's actually going to be pretty good here. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it really does have all the tools a Pokemon needs to be good. A good defensive utility if it's typing in abilities, access to a fairly deep support move pool. I think people are players aren't really we're not seeing a lot of it right now, but I think once everybody realizes the potential it has for fitting on a lot of different teams that appreciate its defensive utility, I think we'll see a lot more of it. And I'm really pleased to see Miltank have a good niche. As, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was tapped in NU last gen, but it didn't really have much of a niche to speak of.
Yeah, that I would know, because, I mean, I did play... I spent all my time in PU and ZU last gen, so I definitely couldn't give you, like, a good insight on that, but I mean, I could definitely see that being the case. I mean, it's, like you said, Miltank's got a lot of utility, and Stealth Rock is just, touching, it's the... like, you're just barely touching on it like that, so... but yeah, Miltank will definitely fit in well here in NU. I don't think it's too much of a problem to go to RU, and I think it's, too nice to drop to PU. So yeah, it'll definitely stay here, at least for the time being. Next mon, another normal type, but this one's more offensive. This guy dropped to PU, but it's definitely NU worthy in my opinion. Kangaskhan. I mean, let's face it, Scrappy should always be the go-to ability on this thing. It's gonna hit hard. It's already got a nice bulk line of 105, 80, 80, and I could easily see Silk Scarf being, its standard item with, dual priority, double edge. Aawin, go ahead.
Yeah. just to touch more on that, this is the one drop that I've actually used. I threw it on like a spike stacking hazard team, with Big Garb and I think Sandaconda as well. But yeah, I think Silk Scarf is the best. You could also probably get away with it's slightly less powerful, but I guess Lumberry could be used as well. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, double priority and Fake Out and Sucker is just really nice. And then also having, Double Edge and Earthquake coverage to bot, poisons and just really anything. 95 attack is, kind of bad. That's like Hitmontop level, I think. But it's strong. And I think Kangaskhan, if it moves up to NU by usage at some point, it might be a bannable Pokemon. So, I mean, there's probably a lot of stuff that I've been missing with a lot of these, and I'm glad Zero goes directly after me to cover that.
I think between the whole lot of us, we were able to cover a lot,
Yeah.
which is great. But yeah, honestly, Kanga's excellent. I think the fact that it has access to a double priority setup with a stab fake out that can hit anything through Scrappy, and then Sucker Punch too, which is really helpful for it because a lot of the time we're seeing it get red adamant because it only has 95 base attack, so you need every bit of power you can get with it, but just to have those tools at its disposal is really helpful for it because it only has a speed of 90 as well, so when you do run adamant, I think you max out at 279. So to be able to slap a lot of mons in the face with Fake Out like that, I think it's really helpful for it. And then it has a great powerful move at its disposal too, a Double Edge, when you are able to outspeed and hit. So I think it's gonna be probably a mon that we see a lot of, especially on I think bulky offense that can use that constant having it come in, Fake Out to keep that chip pressure on the opponent. We're gonna see that a lot. So I guess I think you're probably on the right track in saying that it may come to NU. As far as whether it'll be bannable at that point or not, it's hard to say right now, but I guess we'll see. Facial?
I'm really excited for Kangaskhan because this generation in general, because of Dexit, was just really starved for good normal types, and Snorlax's hold up in RU, so we didn't really have much in that department. But now that Kangaskhan has dropped to PU and will likely be rising to NU as the next month shifts, just because of how good it is here, it's a welcome addition. And just taking a look at a cursory look at the Pokemon we have in the tier right now, not a lot really want to switch in on a Fake Out or a Double Edge because even Cofagrigus, arguably the best Pokemon in the tier, can't switch in on Kangaskhan because it's Scrappy. So it just, in general, looks like a force to be reckoned with. And I think something else worth noting is that Scrappy got a buff this gen, which makes the Pokemon with it immune to Intimidate. So if your opponent has something like a Quillfish, that isn't a safe switch-in either. So it's looking to be a really powerful offensive juggernaut this generation. I don't think it'll quite be ban-worthy, although I could be proven wrong. But for the most part, it's looking to be a fine addition to the metagame, and one that'll have a significant impact on it.
Yeah, for sure. I saw Kangaskhan, quite frequently back in the Sun and Moon PU meta. I mean, it was definitely, one of them, nicer mons. I mean, you got Kangaspikes and the still very common, Silk Scarf dual priority stuff. And so, I mean, I definitely see it, sticking around NU for the time being. All right, next mon. So also dropped to PU by usage, but definitely NU worthy. Executor Kanto, and Specs should easily be the go-to on this thing, and it's gonna hit hard given that it's got a base special attack of 125, and its offensive typing is rather nice as well. Aawin, any other thoughts?
Okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm not muted. Okay,
Yeah,
we're good.
you're not.
Yeah, 125 special attack is really nice for Executor, and if there's any gen or tier where Executor could finally be, where it's not like untiered or something like Luxray has been in the years past, but I think it'd be this gen that it actually have prevalence because Grass Psychic is a really nice offensive typing as is, and plus it has Sludge Bomb to hit opposing grasses. So like if you try to pivot in like an Eldegoss or something, it gets absolutely bodied by Sludge Bomb because most of them are running Fizz Def right now, or at least they should be. And plus, it also does have, if you wanted to run like a semi-decent, I guess, Swords Dance set, it does have access to Power Whip, has access to Stomping Tantrum, as well as your Psychic Stab. And also, as it's rising in popularity, Basculin's physical sets are really being, walled by this thing because Grass Psychic, the Basculins are running double Water Stab and Flip Turn and Liquidation, and then coverage moves of Superpower and Psychic Fangs. And this thing switches in on all of those because its physical bulk is actually decent, 95 and 85. So I could see maybe some more Basculins running Crunch or maybe like a mixed Ice Beam set. But I do think the three-headed coconut monster here is going to be pretty solid this gen. Maybe not great, but I could definitely see it being, mid-tier viability. And again, if there's anything I need to be covered, Mr. Zerovis over here is going to find that out.
Yeah, I mean, you hit most of the points that I was thinking of, honestly. Like, Executor, although its typing is really great offensively, it does a lot defensively, and like one main problem that I see with it is its 4 times weakness to U-turn. It's gonna make it really tricky to get in, but like you said, like once this thing is in, it's gonna be wreaking some havoc for sure. Like with the spec set, your special attack's up to I think 574, 575, and with Leaf Storm at its disposal too, like I think we did the calc a little while ago, and it can actually power through Clefairy with 2 consecutive Leaf Storms. So like if someone were try and switch in a Clefairy to like sponge a special attack, they're gonna lose their Clef most likely. I think it was like a 75% roll or something like that. But that just goes to show like when you can leverage its offensive power right, the thing's going to be a powerhouse. And like you said, too, it does have really good options for coverage. It did lose Hidden Power Fire, I think, was the one that it was running a lot last gen. But, I mean, it still gets Sludge Bomb, which is great for opposing grasses. And, it does benefit from a good offensive stab combination, too. So I see it getting some use that way. I don't know if any other sets will, like, come to light with it, like, people were talking about maybe like a Calm Mind Citrus Harvest type thing, but I feel like sets that are not just like immediately threatening are going to be kind of tough to run with this thing just because of mainly its bug weakness and its other exploitable weaknesses like such as Dark and Flying. But yeah, GW, I think GW had to take a little break for a bit, but I think he's back with us. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I think that Executor is going to be really nice. The fact that Leaf Storm can 2-KO Clefairy with Leaf Storm is amazing. And if you compare it to Obama Snow, Obama has base 92 special attack, and Executor has base 125, while also being able to come in on ground types such as Syndicon easier due to not being weak to Stone Edge and not really caring as much about Stealth Rock. And the fact that, I mean, there's not really any solid switch-ins to it except for like maybe Pharaoh Seed, and that thing can easily get worn down. You're also immune to Leech Seed, so you can probably potentially beat a 1v1 with Psychic as well. And yeah, I think Specs is probably going to be the most common set because you definitely want to take advantage of its 125 special attack, and if you can 2-KO/OCO the majority of the meta and still come in a lot of Pokemon and be faster than like most Weezing sets, I think definitely take advantage of that for sure. Be a pretty decent mon in the long run. It's on Spatial.
On paper, Executor is very threatening, and the combination of Grass and Psychic is a lot of the tier for a fair amount of damage. But my issue with Executor is that offensive power comes at a price. Grass Psychic is, without mincing words, a pretty horrible defensive typing. Leaves it 4 times weak to the ever-present U-turn. It gives it a knockoff weakness. It makes it weak to poison. So you have something like Skuntank, which doesn't really care about Psychic Stab, then it's not necessarily a free switch in, but certainly something to be concerned about. And it's just generally low speed. It can put in work against slower teams or just slower Pokemon on more balanced teams. It just doesn't fare very well against master-paced teams that have the tools to keep pressure on it and stop it from ever getting onto the field in the first place. And as you guys know, a wall breaker that can't get onto the field isn't much of a wall breaker. So I think I can see it getting some niche usage on teams that can account for its weaknesses, but I don't think it's going to be a tier staple by any means.
No, I mean, definitely a good special wall breaker, but yeah, not meta-defining by any means. Yeah, it's just a matter of, having a teammate that can bring it in, bring it in through a Volt Switch, bring it in through a U-turn, and, just click Psychic, click Leaf Storm, and just totally screw the other team up. But yeah, it's good special wall breaker. It'll fit in nicely. So moving on to the next one, also happens to be another grass type, and it's Decidueye. And this thing can run Swords of Dance, it can run Nasty Plot, it can run a defensive set if it needs to. Aawin, have you tried any of those particular sets?
Actually, surprisingly, no. I've been looking at something other than that, offensive variant of Decidueye. I was looking at, actually a Spirit Shackle Toxic Roost set, specifically to, dick on Eldegoss, because I was really, I was going through it. I hate Eldegoss. I hate playing it. I hate using it. It is the bane of my existence. And same thing with Tangela. And, yeah, I was looking at the Spirit Shackle Toxic Roost, just trap them and, make them wish that they had a Lumberry. But I do think Decidueye, more so than Gourgeist, will be, more splashable. I like throwing that term around, but it's, it has so many potential options. Swords Dance, I know Hoenn Confirmed made a team where it was in grassy terrain, and it was SD dual priority with Shadow Sneak and Grassy Glide. And that put in work. And it also has, the Nasty Plot Leaf Storm or, any other special coverage. I really do think this thing will be quite a nice Pokemon in the tier for really any role. If you need a special wall breaker, physical wall breaker, defogger, a water resist. It just fills so many important glue rules on the team. And plus it has pivoting, which is always nice if you're running a more defensive variant. I really don't have much else to say. I do think Decidueye this gen not having to deal with Incineroar is a really big thing. And I feel like Zero is a advocate for this Pokemon as well. I could be wrong though.
No, you actually are wrong. I'm a non-believer in the Decidueye, and even in a match a day ago, I gave someone a chance, and it came down to, I think, my Toxicroak, my Scarf Toxicroak, and his +2 Swords Dance Decidueye with Shadow Sneak. And I told the guy, I'm like, if you can KO me with this Shadow Sneak, I'll become a Decidueye believer. But he didn't, and he got knocked and got killed. So I'm still not a believer. I know it has a ton of tools at its disposal, but to me, it's walking into the ring that's already kind of owned by Gourgeist Small. And yeah, I'm sure it does have tools to differentiate itself. Like you said, Swords Dance, it gets Nasty Plot, it gets a lot of neat stuff, but also, like we just talked about it, Miltank came along with it, and Miltank pretty much walls the shit out of this thing, because the Sap Super variant, it can't be touched by either Ghost or Grass moves, and basically it's going to force Decidueye to probably U-turn out and let Miltank do something of worth. So I don't know, like I don't think it's bad. I'm not a personal fan of it, and I want to see it do more, basically. So definitely in the coming weeks, I'm sure that I'll lose to it a few times and realize that it has a lot of potential. Like on paper, it does have pretty darn good stats, like across the board. So, and it does have a cool ability in long range, which allows its like physical attacks to not make contact with its target. So I'm sure that can be really helpful for it too. But yeah, maybe GW can speak to its graces. I know that he's a fan of it. So
yeah, I think Decidueye has a ton of potential. Can run Swords Dance with the Poltergeist. I think I saw Aawin confirmed lettering earlier today. He had I think it was like a SD Shadow Sneak Grassy Slide Decidueye set. So double priority seems like it could be interesting. There's also Nasty Plot, because NP Decidueye can absolutely destroy Weezing with +2 Shadow Ball. No Incineroar or Braviary to really take it on. Can probably beat Clefairy after 2 Nasty Plots as well. There's going to be very few answers to this thing defensively for sure, and the fact that it gets priority as well is going to make it even harder to deal with, especially once people start building like the perfect teams around it. I think it's going to be maybe like a solid like B- or A-mon, somewhere around there. So, what do you think, Spatial?
If you thought Miltank was going to be able to fit in a lot of teams, get a load of the Decidueye. You guys already mentioned all the things it can do. It can run Nasty Plot, it can run Stance, it can run a bulky debug set, it can run a trapping set. You can even like try Choice Specs or something, since Grass Ghost isn't necessarily bad coverage when you supplement that with a Hurricane. And I don't know exactly how flashable the Decidueye is going to be. It just has all the tools it needs to fit in a lot of different teams and bring a lot of utility to them. I'd also just like to touch on the point about Decidueye facing potential competition from the Gorgeists. While it does share the same typing and performs a similar role, I think it differentiates itself in that it can do a lot more than just be a life orb attacker like the Gorgeists are restricted to, because that's the main thing you're going to be using them for. But with Decidueye, there's always an element of unpredictability at Team Preview, which I feel adds to its viability in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like overall, I mean, Decidueye is it could fulfill like quite a few roles, and we pretty much discussed it: SD, Nasty Plot, defensive, and you guys definitely mentioned pivoting out, which is really nice, especially for a defensive set. But yeah, it'll definitely fit in nicely. So moving on to something that's not quite offensive, but definitely going to be being used a lot here. Weezing, and this easily becomes one of the best, or arguably top 3 fighting switch-ins in the tier right now. Aawin, go ahead and elaborate.
Yeah, with a solid base 120 defense, it's a really nice check, or I guess in some cases counter to Sock, who I feel is like the best fighting type. Like one of the best, not the best. I really think the best fighting type right now is Toxicroak, but Sock, is inching its way closer and closer, because Toxicroak has been facing, getting usage in higher tiers, so we might see that leave sometime, in the near future. Probably like 25 days from now, 26 days from now. But I do think Weezing is a solid mon, and now if the team really requires it, it can run neutralizing gas, and one that works like mold breaker. So, you can always have that fun potential there, and also absorb T-spikes. I just think this thing will be a pretty nice defensive backbone for some teams. Not all teams, because I don't think it's necessarily that splashable. But Special Croak kind of shits on this thing, and Also, Corrosive Gas, the best move in the DLC. You could run that up. But I don't have anything else. So Zero, you can take the reins on Wheezing.
Yeah, honestly, I've always been a Weezing fan. Like, it's always been, like, a really good physical wall. And it does have, like, offensive potential, too. It's always had, like, a really interesting special move pool to utilize as well, which is great. But I think one thing that's going to hold it back is, unfortunately, it dropped down alongside Blade, who we spoke about. And so its inability to, like, check a big physical wall breaker that we got is probably gonna reduce the amount it gets used overall. But like apart from that, I think it's like just a great mon altogether. It has excellent HP and defense to use. It has a lot of tools like toxic spikes and will-o-wisp and so on, as well as pain split to keep itself healthy. And I've had some luck using it in an interesting defensive core with Licky Licky. So it itself acted as the physical side, and then Licky Licky was the special wall / wish passer. And those two had a pretty interesting synergy because I could just switch Licky Licky out into Wheezing for any like incoming heavy fighting moves. Another cool defensive core I heard about haven't used though was Wheezing and Lantern too, because we all know Lantern hates nice fat physical ground moves, and Wheezing loves to just dodge those completely unless they're coming from some sort of mold breaker mon like Pinsir. So I do think that we'll see some interesting defensive cores using Wheezing, and we'll definitely see it dropping some toxic spikes in place of Garbodor here and there. But I do think that it's a little bit unfortunate that Gallade had to come along down with it, because that's, like I said, probably going to reduce how much it would have been used just a little bit. DW, what are your thoughts on Wheezing? I know you like to use it a little more offensively.
Yeah, I mean, it can run defensive and offensive very well, especially if you pair it defensively with the right Pokemon. I mean, I think it can also function pretty well offensively. I know Aawin said that it sucks versus MP Croak, but like if you run offensive with Fire Blast, you're doing an enormous amount of damage to them. I mean, if you have a decent check or switch in, and dealing with it shouldn't be too difficult. Also, kind of nab Pokemon like Rotom and Golurk on the switch in with Dark Pulse. So there's not really any Pokemon that can handle it defensively for the most part if you have that right moveset. And then you can just run like Pain Split or Toxic Spikes depending on what your team needs. You can run Levitate if you're weak to ground types like Sandaconda. If you're weak to T-Spikes, you can just run Neutralizing Gas. I think it's a Pokemon that it's extremely easy to adjust it depending on what your team needs and to have it be effective with whatever set you use. So I think that's an amazing character trait. You can definitely use it alongside a defensive core like Licky Licky for sure. Just make it really hard for the opponent to break through your team. I think we'll see a lot of Wheezing usage moving forward. Do you have any thoughts, Spatial?
I think Wheezing, it's going to be a really interesting addition to the tier because when you consider something like Garbodor, it has the potential to take a few physical hits and annoy the opponent with the threat of taking Aftermath or Rocky Helmet damage, but it could never really fulfill the role of a dedicated physical wall just because it lacked in true bulk. And Wheezing, it's kind of exchange for offering less its utility than Garbodor, I would say, because it can't punish physical attackers as directly. It makes up for it in just having raw power, or raw defensive power, I should say, with Levitate. And that's a really valuable trait for some teams that just really need something for those physical attackers that they might have a hard time walling otherwise. So I'm not sure where Wheezing will fit on, but I'm thinking it's going to be a overall good defensive mon, if not a little weak to the special attackers we have.
Yeah, I mean, and that's expected. I mean, its special bulk is it's meh. I mean, it could be better, but it's meh. But it will definitely serve as a very nice, physically bulky mon, especially for fighting types. All right, so let's do a couple more here. Let's see, another notable one, Pincer. This is one of the better mons that dropped. Yet another mon that can benefit from heavy duty boots, and it can be a rocker itself, or it could be a scarfer. You can go SD Lum, you can go SD LO. I mean, you can pretty much go any route with this thing, honestly. But Aawin, what are your thoughts on Pincer?
Yeah, I feel like Pincer has a lot of options. You know, it does have 3 great abilities in Hypercutter and Mold Breaker and Moxie, all of which can be utilized in certain situations. You know, if Hatchram really does make a rise in the tier, because that's like the only prevalent magic bouncer at the moment, which I doubt it would rise back up because of the amount of ghosts and the prevalence of Silvally Dark. But it does have Mold Breaker Stealth Rock, so I guess that could be something. And then it does have Hypercutter for SD sets, so if something like Quillfish wants to switch in, you know, that Intimidate won't go off, and you're going to SD on the switch if you predict that and just bop them with an Earthquake. And I think Moxie is kind of cool too on like a Choice Scarf set because it can act as a cleaner. However, its coverage isn't really the greatest. Like, it doesn't have the most spammable moves to lock itself into, because I would assume it runs something like X-Scissor, Close Combat, and then Knock, and then find a 4th coverage move from there. So, like, if you're not running Stone Edge, you're kind of bodied by Rotom Fan. So it doesn't really have the most spammable things to lock into. That can't really be, that can be exploited by something like a setup mon that forces you out. I don't really have any other thoughts on Pincer. I think it's a decent mon, but I'm not too wowed at the moment. So, Zero, I remember you were trying to build a team with us.
Yeah, Spatial and I were working on one. We were trying to make a Swords Dance set work. I mean, I personally have more testing to do with it, but I'm in the same boat as you. Is that I wish it had a more spammable stab. It doesn't unfortunately get Megahorn, which really sucks for it, because that's one thing that kind of has always in the past made Heracross a little bit better than Pinsir, which is sad because Pinsir's such a sick mon. Like, it's a cool looking mon, and you know, in most of its applications in Pokemon as a whole, it's just been that cool. But yeah, it's held back by not getting a sweet move like Megahorn, and it doesn't have a secondary stab, unfortunately, like Heracross gets, which boosts both Close Combat and Megahorn up to crazy levels. And they do have similar, like, I know they both get Moxie, so like, you always want to use Pinsir in similar ways, like either as a Scarfer or trying to run like an offensive set with Swords Dance or something. But it does seem to get held back by that a lot. And also to boot, like, its speed is not like stellar. It's not bad either. It's the same if you run Jolly. It's the same as Croak. So, you know, Croak is known to run both Nasty Plot and Swords Dance sets. So like, it's not completely impossible. I saw a pretty cool setup I think it was Finchinator was doing a quick NU live, and he used a team that Rabia made with a Lumberry Pinsir. And luckily for that, I think someone tried to have his Wheezing in and burn this Pinsir, and the Lum just cured his burn on the Swords Dance turn, and then he proceeded to Earthquake and then just do some other crazy antics, which was nice to watch. But I think it'll be good. It's just going to be tough to use, and it's going to have to be on the right teams to give it an opportunity to get in and set up. And then, like, one good setup opportunity I've seen so far in my own testing is Malamar. Like, as soon as you throw this thing in against Malamar, they're probably going to be switching out because they know that they can't take X's, and so you can use that opportunity to Swords Dance and become very threatening. But yeah, I think the main holdback is not having something like Megahorn, because it does kind of suck to rely on X-Scissor. And with Scarf sets too, like, it sucks being locked into a move with Pinsir because it's very exploitable in his case, especially when none of them get stab, and the one that does get stab isn't as powerful as it could be. But yeah, those are really that's the summary of my thoughts on Pinsir. GW, you got any Pinsir thoughts?
I think that most of the character traits of Pinsir and the weaknesses have been covered. But one thing I want to mention will be like the Swords Dance Moldbreaker set, because a lot of Weezing are going to run Levitate, try and be immune to Earthquake, for example. If you run that, you can just hit it with a +2 Earthquake, completely ignoring its ability. Since a lot of people are going to be running defensive Weezing cores on like stall and balance, it's going to be really good for that. And you don't even need to worry about having something else for Quagsire. Once you set up a Swords Dance, you're probably safe against that as well. You just get it a little bit chipped down, as long as you're not too worried about a Scald Burn. I'm assuming that like +2 X-Scissor still do a ton of damage. So yeah, not having Mega Horn is really kind of just bad, because it's a pure bug type. The only stab move it can get is X-Scissor. Power is definitely a big drawback for sure. It's still going to be very dangerous as a breaker for sure. And also the Scarf set with Moxie might be decent too. You have any thoughts, Spatial?
I wanted to be really optimistic for Pinsir, because on paper it looked like the ultimate stall killer. Old Breaker, Swords Dance, Sky High attack stat, decent enough speed stats where it can outspeed what it needs. But after doing some testing, I just found it to be really underwhelming in practice, because, well, granted, it does destroy stall and basically any Pokemon that happens to have the misfortune of being its path. It really struggles to make headway against more offensively inclined teams which have faster threats than it. It has a decent defense stat, so it's at least helped in that regard, but it feels like more of a match of fishing mon than anything else, so I don't really see it getting any consistent NU usage. It's a really unfortunate case, too, because I really like Pinsir from a design standpoint, but it just is what it is. It just didn't really it got dealt a strange hand in terms of the cards in its deck, if I can make an analogy. So, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, Pinsir's, I mean, it's good. It's definitely good on the offensive side. And I think a calc that I kind of came across recently, and Aawin, I think you actually just posted this, like at +2 X-Scissor on a fully defensive Quagsire, it's doing just over 50% at a minimum. So you're still running the chance of getting a Scald Burn, which definitely wouldn't help. I mean, it would be, having a Lumberry would, definitely come in handy in a situation like that. And if that's the case, then Quagsire goes down. But abilities are nice, stats are nice, but I guess I'm kind of on board with you guys. I just feel like it's not really, like, NU probably won't be its home. It'll definitely stay PU unless, something happens that makes Pinsir completely overpowering. But I'm pretty sure I don't see anything like that happening for quite some time. All right, let's go over one more. How about, I was thinking either Lilligant or Licky. Like, which one is like more intriguing from your guys' perspective?
We can touch on Licky.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Personally, I'm more of a Licky advocate than Lilligant, so.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, Licky, he's back. He's fat, and this thing has incredible bulk, 110, 95, 95. So, honestly, from my past experience, I hardly ever see this outside of stall, and I hate stall. But Aawin, what are your thoughts on Licky? You just said you're an advocate.
Yeah, I'm an advocate only because of the design, strictly. Personally, facing this mon, I hate it. I hate really any fat Pokemon that I can't just bop in like 3 hits. But Oblivious is really nice because it can't get taunted. As well as if you want to run an SD set. Personally, I wouldn't run an SD set only because the SD wall breakers in this tier, so Sylvalis, I can think of Rapidash, and probably like SD Croak, have better speed tiers and more offensive presence than 85 base attack. I mean, you could run it. You could maybe run some Curse. It does get body press. Um, Power whip. But I just think, as a Wish Passer, which is probably going to be its main role, it's going to be phenomenal because I can't really think of something with a really high HP stat in this tier that doesn't really suck. So, like, Eldegoss is, like, strictly base 60. And then I think Quag has a decent HP stat as well. So, and then something like a stall staple like Pharaoh Seed or Avalug, really appreciate just fatter wishes. I'm a fan of this, and its potential. It does have broken knockoff as well. So there's something I didn't cover, Zero, it's your time to shine.
You said a lot right, man. Like, I think it is actually going to probably make Stall a little more viable now in NU. The ability to Wish Pass without having to worry about taunt is so huge. And especially on, like, a really bulky mon, too. Like, it has massive HP and, I think equal defense. Let me pull it up here. What is it? Like, 110, 95, 95. Like, that's excellent bulk, so being able to kind of leverage it the way you need it defensively is great. And like you said, like, I think that's probably the offensive move that we'll see on the defensive sets is probably knockoff, because it doesn't have great attack, but if you are going to have an attack on it anyway, even though it doesn't get taunted, like, so you actually could technically run an attackless set and not worry about it, it's nice to have knockoff there anyway, just to be getting rid of some of the opponent's items as you're coming into Cleric. But yeah, I've already used it on a sweet defensive core with Weezing, and like overall I think it's probably gonna be used quite a bit as a Wish Passer. It's nice because NU really needed another like especially bulky mon, because really we were pretty much relying on like the three main ones we had so far, which was Clef, Ferroseed, and Galar, Stunfisk. And so like to see another especially defensive mon is nice. Like, Aawin, I'm like you, I like bopping mons too as quickly as I can, but at the same time it is nice to see more sturdy mons, because it gives the tier a sense of like stability, I guess, rather than just like, everything's just hyper offense and just falling over. But yeah, I think Licky Licky's a great addition. GW, any thoughts on the Licky?
Yeah, probably the best specially defensive wisher we have now. Before, the only other real options we had was being forced to run the Def Wish Port Clefairy, which is like okay. And we also had maybe Wish Togedemaru, but it's not really that as good defensively. To have a specially defensive Wish supporter with that heal ball support, it's only really weak to NP Croak, but you can always run answers to it, such as the Spadef Weezing or some other mon on stall. That way it just becomes really tough to break through that team. Being able to constantly just give it health back with Wish, I think it's going to be seen on a lot of bulkier balance or stall builds for sure. It will probably be on a lot of teams in the NU Open as well. People who want to try to build a team that can't be broke through. So yeah, do you have any thoughts, Facial?
I'm Licky in terms of what it can do. It's just a very linear mon. It just it fits in front of special attackers, eats, passes the wish, protects, does all the normal things you'd expect a wish passing special wall to do. I'm not sure if Audino will be returning at the Crown Tundra, but if it does, Licky will be out of a job. But for right now, I think it'll probably be relegated to hard stall, which is a pretty niche archetype right now, but it'll perform its role well no matter how niche it is.
Yeah, definitely bulky AF, and it's definitely going to make, I'm pretty sure Aawin said this, stall more, viable, more usable here in NU. Bad news for people like me who hate to face it. So, I can only hope that luck is on my side, that I hardly ever face it at all. So yeah, those 8 mons, those were the more notable ones. Everything else just feels like it's simply just PU worthy. Definitely not any material, or if they are, very niche. So let's see, next order of business. Oh yeah, the NU Open that's going right now for the Smogon Grand Slam. I'm not sure if any of us, or if all of us, are in or still in and playing. But I know I'm in. I won my week one matchup. Aawin, what about you?
Personally, I am not huge on the tournament scene of Smogum and tiers in general. So I'm just kind of sideline watching right now, seeing how everything goes down. Also, shout outs to Yoshi for going, losing his NU Open match.
Yeah, he won 3 games. In game one, he used a team I gave him, and in games 2 and 3, he used a team that was given to him by Zero and a team that was given to him by Davin. He only won the first game, so I definitely consider that a compliment on my part that he won with it. Zero, are you in? If you are, did you win your week one matchup?
Yeah, I'm in, and I won mine in 2. It was against Agent S, who I don't know if is like a very popular player or not, but it was an interesting set of matches. Round 1 of NU Open coincided with the Scyther week, which we call it, and so a lot of the teams we saw had Scyther on it, so that was pretty interesting. But I had a good few matches there, and I'm interested to see what people will be building for round 2 here. GW, I think you also won yours.
I played at my NU Open round 1. Went to 3 games. I was playing against Pets Howard, so I think he's a very solid OE player. He probably had some friends pass him some good teams and stuff. And it came down to the wire, but I managed to just barely get through. I'll be hoping for some maybe like slightly more convincing wins going forward for sure. Definitely want to make it far in the tournament, so it should be fun.
And Spatial, were you in? If so, did you win?
Yep, I'm in, and I scheduled my round 1 opponent, and we got everything worked out, but then they didn't show up, so they had to get a sub in. Me and the sub played, it was the next day, and I won 2-0. In terms of the teams I brought, my first game, I brought a pretty cheesy Aurora Vale Hyper Offense team that Rabia actually featured in one of his lives. Shouts to Rabia. Go check out his YouTube channel, Lord Rabia. And then for my second game, I brought a pretty cool build, which is uses the core of Sword Stance, the Volley Dragon, Nasty Pot, Toxic Rope to break down each other's checks, and won a pretty convincing 2-0 series.
Oh, very nice. All right, so I mean, aside from Aawin, who's not in, we all won. We all won our round 1 matchups, so that's good. And I'm pretty sure round 2 will be posted either sometime later, within the next few hours or so, or sometime tomorrow, because I'm pretty sure round 1 ends today. So that's good. And
if you spam Finchinator with tags in the NU Discord, call up sooner.
Wait, what was that?
Spam Finchinator with tags in the NU Discord, then the round 2 will go up faster.
If we want to irritate him, absolutely. All right, so last bit of business for this podcast. Just any miscellaneous items that we may have missed or didn't touch on, or maybe stuff that we'll be doing in the next one. Is there anything like that you guys wanted to get out there?
I have a very important announcement.
Sure.
GW is bad at Pokemon.
Ouch.
I have an even more important announcement. I believe Lord Rabaya got over 20 subscribers. Please congratulate him in the NU room and wish him the best of luck in the future. The king himself.
Seeing as we all see him frequently, yeah, I don't think that'll be a bad idea. So the 5 of us are I guess the four of us, minus Aawin, he's a guest, we were discussing potential ideas for future casts. Wasn't there a Jeopardy idea that we had in there somewhere, or
I threw that out there, but it's a work in progress.
Okay,
it's like Pokey-Aim, and I think Chimpact was the host of it, but they were all on there, and it's just Pokemon related Jeopardy. It doesn't even have to be NU related.
Yeah,
but could keep a whole category just for NU.
Right.
But
so
that sounds really fun. I'd be interested in trying to help some of the to check off on the bingo list.
Sure.
Because one of them, they don't even have to be related to certain NU mons. It could just be makes opponent forfeit within first 5 turns.
Yeah.
Wins the game without using an attacking move.
I mean, that's more related to bingo. Jeopardy is like a game show.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said bingo. My bad.
Jeopardy.
That's why I said Jeopardy. So.
Especially if it was NU specific, I think it'd be really fun for us because we know the meta pretty well. So for example, it would be this Pokemon can be real trouble if you're not packing a bug move, and then literally be who is Malamar? Oh, you got it. Yeah,
It's good job. Yeah. So I know there is going to be another special guest next week. It is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Aawin confirmed.
The man that does not pack a fighting resist.
Yeah, he's
the man who puts HO in HO.
But yeah, so whenever we do our next podcast, yes, Aawin confirmed will be in that podcast, and you'll get to hear his thoughts, his ideas on how he builds or on certain mons or whatever. So definitely tune into that whenever it may be. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys loved listening to these other 4 guys throw in their ideas, their insights, their thoughts. And so if you did like it, hit the like button, click subscribe, because there will be more of these videos. And we will see you all in the next one. Until then, have a good one.